Ben Gessling believes that the Vikings wouldn't bat an eye in order to trade up for what they believe to be their future franchise quarterback. And Pro Football Network recently released a mock draft, in which case they have the Vikings trading up to the number one spot in order to select Drake Maye, quarterback out of North Carolina. Now, I have always said and still believe that realistically speaking, best case scenario, if the Vikings are going to trade up, it's going to be with Arizona at pick 4. Just because you look at the teams with the first 3 picks, New England at pick 3, they've been on opposite ends of the spectrum in recent years, going from the greatest quarterback of all time to Mac Jones. They know they need a QB. And Washington at pick 2, they've been in quarterback hell forever, as long as I've been alive. Because outside of the Kirk Cousins era and one great year from Robert Griffin III, his rookie year, you're talking about guys like Patrick Ramsey, Rex Grossman, Jason Campbell, Donovan McNabb, Taylor Heineke. They would be stupid, especially with a new ownership group. They would be stupid not to go quarterback here, especially when you consider, and this was a different regime, obviously, but it still applies. It's the same organization. In 2020, they selected Chase Young, an edge rusher out of Ohio State, who's no longer with the team, by the way. He's in San Francisco. They selected him over Justin Herbert. Of course, they're going quarterback at pick 2. And then at pick 1, you've got Chicago, which I believe presents the biggest obstacle because you need them to believe in Justin Fields in order to want to trade down. And even if they want to trade down, trading within the division, the number 1 spot, that's just too much. Of course, they're not going to do it, right? Now, the first part of that, them believing in Justin Fields, it's gone from hope and wishing and praying to maybe it's actually materializing because Matt Eberflus has not been fired. He will be the head coach next year, and they hired Shane Waldron to be their new offensive coordinator. Shane Waldron comes over from Seattle. Shane Waldron was the offensive coordinator for Geno Smith behind his 2022 campaign, winning Comeback Player of the Year. You keep the head coach, and you bring in a guy who has proven to be part of the elevation process of a quarterback who went from a backup journeyman to, he's not only a starter, but he did it at an award-winning level, at least in 2022 anyway. That says to me that we are going to give this guy every bit of an opportunity for him to succeed, him being Justin Fields, which means that there's no point in us selecting at pick 1. Of course we're open for business. Although I still believe that pick 4, that's going to be the best spot for the Vikings to trade up to. The Bears trading within the division? All right, man, let's get nuts. Pro Football Network has the Vikings trading up to the first spot. And in exchange for pick number 1 and a 2025 6th-round pick, the Bears get pick 11, 42, 126 from this year's draft, and next year's first-round pick and next year's second-round pick as well. I don't necessarily think that's going to get it done. I think if you're the Vikings, it's going to take more than that because right now we're talking about the Bears dropping from 1 to 11. Last year, the Bears dropping from 1 to 9 with Carolina. In addition to the pick swap, they got that year's second-round pick. They got a future first and a future second-round pick, as well as DJ Moore. So now you're asking them to drop back 2 further spots compared to last year. And all it's going to take, according to Pro Football Network, is the swap plus 42, 126, a future first and second-round pick. Nah, man, I think this is going to be more. You're going to have to follow the template of the Miami-San Francisco trade, where I think it's going to take, in addition to the pick swap, 1 and 11, or 1 for 11, you're going to need to give up 2 future first-round picks, as well as pick 42 and a future second-round pick. This is high stakes. This is stack up your chips and let's ride. Would you do it? I mean, because we're up to this point, we've been talking about Jaden Daniels, and I love him as a prospect. And I think if you can get him, he can be a day one starter. And you don't need to have that bridge quarterback unless you want to. That's a whole different topic for another day. But if you can put yourself in the realm of possibility to draft Drake Maye, oh, bro, we you do it. Only if the Bears are willing to make that business transaction with you. I just don't believe it's going to happen. But bro, the champagne will be ready. This changes everything if you can get it done. Because now we're saying, all right, Quasi, everything resets now. We can, for now anyway, temporarily, we can forget about the Lewisine trade that you did in the 2022 draft. We can forget about that because now you have what everyone believes to be a superstar quarterback, a franchise quarterback, something you don't have to worry about, a guy that you know is not going to throw hospital passes to Justin Jefferson like Josh Dobbs did. You keep Jefferson happy, sign him to that contract extension after 2024. When the dead cap of Kirk Cousins is over with, you've got all the money in the world talking about the salary cap. This changes everything. This would be super exciting. And if it all goes to hell, if it doesn't work out, if Drake Maye or Caleb Williams, which quite honestly, at this point in time, I know that going into the last year's college season, Caleb Williams was the guy. This was the open court layup. If you have the number one pick, you take the guy out of USC. But quite honestly, after the way that this season has gone, I think Caleb Williams is really exceptional at the off-script plays. But when you need him to drop back in the pocket and just make routine reads, routine plays in the pocket, that's where it gets a little bit dicey. Drake Maye can do it all. This would change everything. I'm all for it. I don't think it's going to happen. But I wanted to entertain this idea anyway. If you're willing to give up even a little bit more interest on top just because you're a divisional rival, so it's going to cost you a bit more, bro, just do it. We have nothing to lose besides draft picks. But we're going to go through this constant cycle of ending up in the middle of the draft order, selecting the tier 2 guys over and over and hoping that they work out. Whereas there's no guarantee in life, especially when it comes to the draft, especially when it comes to the quarterback position and trying to figure out who's going to succeed or not. But you've never been in, at least that I can remember anyway, you have not been in a position like this hypothetical situation. If you can do it, do it. Staying with the Vikings, obviously, this is what we do on this YouTube channel. Jim Harbaugh will now be the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers, which automatically led me to the time when the Vikings had Harbaugh in the building. He could have been the next head coach of Minnesota, and I believe that the team would be more competitive, not just in 2023, even with the injury to Kirk Cousins, but going back to 2022 in the playoff game against the Giants. I think with Harbaugh, you actually win that game and advance to the divisional round. However, I want to throw KOC a bone here because naturally, again, I went to, all right, man, if Jim Harbaugh succeeds with the Chargers, this is going to look really, really bad on the Vikings. And it already kind of looks bad. The man went back to Michigan and won a national championship. Everywhere he goes, if they don't win a championship, they're right there in the championship game. San Francisco, they went to a Super Bowl. The 49ers under Jim Harbaugh, multiple NFC championship games. But I'm going to throw KOC a bone here. regardless of what Harbaugh does with the Chargers, the way that KOC can negate all of that is to start delivering on his job as a head coach. Get this team to everything that you are saying that you want them to be. You want this to be a championship culture. Okay, make them contend for championships. Get them to that level to where, hey, Harbaugh in the Chargers and Justin Herbert in the AFC West going up against Patrick Mahomes, great. They could be kicking all sorts of ass. While at the same time, the Vikings get them to that level to where we're like, hey, you know what? We're both chilling. We're both doing great things. That to me is the only way that KOC can erase any potential buyer's remorse from the Vikings organization. Say, man, we could have had Jim Harbaugh. If we had hired him, what would we look like? Man, you see the Chargers, how the success they're having? That could be us right now. So for KOC, just deliver on those feel-good speeches on the football field this time. Everything you've been saying the last 2 years, it's time to live up to the expectations, the hype that you have set. And I'm not here to be negative and rag on the guy. I did it all throughout the season. And we're in the offseason. There's no point of going down that road, just giving constructive criticism. An aggressive offense, an aggressive game plan called by a guy that's not you, an offensive coordinator. Just because after 2 years, it's clear that that's not your forte, and that's okay. You can be a Dan Campbell. You can be a rah-rah guy and still be an elite team and still be competitive and still make a deep playoff run. That's okay. Know your strengths and your weaknesses. Get this team to where you've built it up to be, where you want the championship culture. Get them there. And then whatever Jim Harbaugh is doing, it's not going to matter.